Bulls Nation, after the game against the Raptors, the Chicago Bulls now have a couple of days off to practice and to rest and to prepare for one of the toughest schedules that they may face throughout the entire regular season. But today I want to look back at those 4 victories the Chicago Bulls had and kind of discuss a little bit of positives and negatives that I saw out of that stretch of games. And of course, with the 4-0, it's very, very positive all the way around, and it's great to see the Chicago Bulls end up having a terrific start like that. But there are some things that I want to discuss in its entirety, so let's talk all about the Chicago Bulls and their 4-0 wins in this video. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Today we've got a Chicago Bulls related video referring to the positives and negatives that we've seen from our 4-0 start for the Chicago Bulls. It's been a fantastic journey so far. Our new players are gelling well together. The chemistry seems to be there, but there are some signs that we also need to focus on. And if you've watched any of my game reactions, you might know what some of the signs I believe are, but we will be talking a little bit more about it in this video specifically. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls start so far. And if I do miss any of them, there could be potentially, since we do have a lot of time on our hands as Bulls fans looking for the next game, I could potentially make a second part to this video for anybody that does say things that I may miss out on. So let's get started on this, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get any further into this video, there is some breaking news in relation to Zach Lavine. I think many people would have seen in the last game with the Toronto Raptors how he ended up turning the ball over, and many people saw, and even the Bulls commentators commented on it, about him holding his thumb. It does turn out that Zach Lavine does have an injury to that thumb, and this is coming from Shams. It says, Bulls All-Star Zach Lavine has a small ligament tear in the thumb of his non-shooting hand, but intends to play through the injury, sources tell The Athletic. It's a matter of pain tolerance for Zach Lavine, and he wants to play with the Chicago Bulls this season, being 4-0. I didn't read it word for word, I apologize for that, but that's basically the gist of what Shams tweeted. And yeah, I don't really know what to say about this. I don't know much about the actual terms of the injury. Maybe people can educate me on that situation. It's good to see that it's his non-shooting hand, so hopefully his shooting won't take a massive hit because of this injury. But yeah, I don't really know what to say. It does seem like when you hear ligament tear, it does kind of worry you a little bit, and I do feel a little bit worried, but he does intend to keep playing, which hopefully is the right move to make, and hopefully he can continue to work through those pains and maybe it will end up healing itself. I don't really know about that situation, but I really wanted to bring that to you before we get into the actual main part of the video. This obviously happened a few minutes ago, so there's not really too much else to say about that. But yeah, get well soon, Zach Lavine. Hopefully this is not a big injury. And again, if you guys want to let me know in the comments below how bad this injury is, you can, feel free. And yeah, it's frustrating. I'm not going to lie. It seems like every time something goes well for us, there are injuries that do come in the way. But again, if he's going to play through it, then I'm hoping it's not the worst case scenario. Hopefully it's not a really bad injury. But yeah, maybe this goes to show that he should not be handling the ball as much while he does have this injury. He should play a lot more off ball. We'll see what the Bulls do with that situation. But yeah, back to the main video, I guess, for you guys. Let's talk about the offense first, because I think the offense in general is something that's still coming along nicely. It's not perfect, and it's definitely not at its truest form just yet, but it is getting there, and I do think we have a lot of improvements to make on the offensive end. So the first thing that I've noticed on the offensive end is that we are not relying on Zach Lavine as much as we've seen in previous years. This is obviously the case because of the quality of players we now have on the team and how we can spread the offense evenly, and also spread the offense to those that might be hot on a certain occasion. For example, we've seen DeMar DeRozan 2 games now have 26 points. in 2 games, which is absolutely phenomenal standards for DeMar DeRozan. And in the end, that's a second shooter for this team that we desperately needed, or a second scorer, I should say. So whenever Zach Lavine is not feeling it, like we saw against the Pistons and even potentially against the Raptors for a little bit, you see players like DeMar DeRozan that can step up and kind of fill in those shoes and provide that scoring punch that we may desperately need in the offense. So all in all, spreading the offense evenly, that does come down to Lonzo Ball as well. But it's fantastic to see when we do have players that are not necessarily feeling it on the night, or maybe just have a bad shooting night, we can divide and spread the offense to other players that maybe can carry the load a little bit more, which is great to see. And most good teams do have that option where if one option is failing, the other option can maybe step up and take that place. Giannis and Chris Middleton, LeBron and AD, obviously Harden and KD. It just goes to show that when you have 2 really good scoring options on the team, you do end up winning a lot more games than just having that one, and that was Zach Lavine last year. Really good offensive displays there. One thing I want to also discuss is the turnover issues we saw last year, and of course we are not seeing it as much this year. Now, despite the Toronto Raptors game, that is a certain outlier of a game in terms of the turnover issues that we've seen, because the 4th quarter was a really disastrous one for the Bulls at that game. I do think all in all we have kept the ball a little bit better than what we saw last year. And again, I think that comes down to having multiple ball handlers on the team, people that can keep the ball and manage to use it effectively on most occasions. You also have obviously Lonzo Ball, who granted has had a few turnovers at the course of the start of the season. For the most part, he's taking care of the ball and also, again, dividing the offense and allowing players to thrive in their positions. It does seem like it's a different team when it comes to passing the ball, and the faster tempo that you play, usually you turn the ball over more. That's what we saw last year. Last year we played so fast to a point where we turned the ball over constantly for this team, and there were just some games where it was just turnover after turnover after turnover after turnover. You just didn't know what was going to happen with this team. It was so, I guess, interesting to see if the Bulls could actually keep goal possession without turning the ball over at times. That's what it felt like at the end of the day. Now, this could still be an issue going into 20 games down the line, but with these 4 games, I have seen the Bulls slightly keep the ball better than compared to last year, which is great to see as well. And that's a good part of the offense that we need to continue seeing. Hopefully we don't turn the ball over as much. The game against the Raptors, the reason why it was such an outlier is because we had like 4 turnovers going into the second half, and we ended up with about 12 turnovers in total. So the second half was a really shocking performance there. But I think we do have the potential to really go through this season with turnovers not being an issue, which is fantastic to see. But I think the negative side of the offensive side of the game today, it's not been efficient by any stretch of the means. And the last 2 games of the season for the Chicago Bulls with the Detroit Pistons and the Toronto Raptors are examples of this. Even though you look at the scores, the stat sheet for these players, you see players having 17, 15, 20 points in certain games. None of it has been efficient, which goes to show that when we do get our offense gelling, we are potentially a more dangerous team than what we're seeing currently. Because so far, I think it's been slightly opposite to what many people have said. Many people questioned our defense to be the key issue with this team and kind of said the offense will work out. And it's kind of been the opposite of that. Our defense has worked out very, very well, and our offense has now come into question by many people. So there is definitely a situation here when it comes to the offense, but I think when you have the quality of players on offense that you do, I mean, Nikola Vucevic, I know we give him a lot of stick on the defensive end, but offensively, he is one of the best centers in the NBA, and I'll argue that with anybody in the league. So it's as simple as that. He is a tremendous offensive big man, and once he gets his groove going, because he's had a very rough start in terms of efficiency, if he can clean up his efficiency, we have another avenue to go down with the scoring. Obviously, Zach Lavine has had 2 poor efficiency games and 2 pretty solid efficiency games. So once he gets the consistency going, another dangerous aspect. DeMar DeRozan as well has not been terrifically efficient in terms of his scoring. However, he is definitely someone we can rely on the scoring end to clean up that efficiency down the line. I think with every single game, we're going to see better efficiency and better offense overall as this team gets to know each other a little bit more. And the same goes for Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball, in my opinion, is one of the more efficient offensive players just because of the shot selection that he actually provides for this team. The three-point scoring has been very good, at least for the Toronto game, to say the least. And he has had strong games so far in terms of efficiency. So all of these players have had on and off nights on efficiency wise. So once that gets cleaned up a little bit, we have another dangerous avenue to go down with offense, and it makes us even harder to guard, which is great to see. And hopefully we can put more scores on the score sheet for the Chicago Bulls and just win by a little bit more, which just adds another element to this team. And offensively, I want to talk about the bench a little bit. The bench has had inconsistent night scoring, and this is something I feel Kobe White should hopefully come in and fix as a big issue. But nevertheless, we have seen different players step up. For example, Io dropped 7 points in one of the games of the regular season, which was great to see. And then the next game, you had Troy Brown Jr. score 11 points off of the bench. You had Alizé drop 8 and 8. You had Alex Caruso dropping around 8 points per game as well. I would say it's fairly difficult for this bench to score consistently, but as long as we have players that will step up in certain games, for example, if the next game we see maybe Troy Brown Jr. again drop maybe 11 points, or maybe you see Io once again dropping some points. Even Alizé off of pick and rolls and post moves, he ends up dropping a similar amount of points, 8 points, whatnot. As long as we have a scoring option off of the bench that isn't Alex Caruso, I think this team can be really strong off of the bench as well. But bench scoring is certainly an issue. Now, moving into the defensive end, there's not too much to say defensively that I think that we failed to do, except for one key component, and that is the rebounding side of the ball. Now, rebounding wise, the Chicago Bulls are, I believe, one of the worst rebounding teams in the NBA early on in the season. Now, I hope that doesn't seem to be an ongoing issue going down into more games of the regular season. Hopefully we can improve those rebounding numbers. But at the end of the day, this is definitely something that we saw as an issue going into the season. Billy Donovan has spoken about it. Many of you in the comments section below talked about it and still do talk about it as a big issue with this team. Defensively, we seem to struggle with the rebounding. And even offensively as well, you can put that in the offensive category, but defensively as well. Nikola Vucevic obviously is a good rebounding center. We all know that about him. But outside of that, Alizé Johnson doesn't necessarily get a whole lot of minutes to impact the boards as much, but rebounding wise, we are struggling, and many people want to figure out ways to fix those struggles. So for me personally, we need to rebound in committee, because I don't see us going for a significant trade anytime soon to try and get another big man into this team. So unless we fix the rotation of this team, maybe bring Tony Bradley in, maybe we have a little bit more rebounding there. But all in all, I would say we need to start rebounding as a team. There have been times where this team runs out and transitions so quickly that there's not exactly a lot of bodies to rebound the ball. It can't go both ways. If you're losing the rebounding battle, sometimes there needs to be one or two players that are willing to rebound in committee with Nikola Vucevic in the team as well. So if there are struggles there when it comes to rebounding, and I think that's one way we can fix it until either it becomes a bigger issue or we have to look for other players to kind of rectify that rebounding situation. But all in all, defensively, I think we've had a very good time as Bulls fans. I think this defense can clearly be one of the top 10 defenses in the NBA, because last year we weren't far away from it statistically. But I see this consistently going well for this team. I see this team consistently playing defense against top teams and some of the lower caliber teams. And it does come down to offense as well. Defensively, I think deflections is a big thing for this team. Even though we're not getting steals, we are deflecting a lot of passes that come our way. We are being very active. We are helping. We are switching on players. Also, when someone commits, there's another person to back up. It just goes to show that communication on the defensive end is really strong with this team so far, and that's something I want to see continue. Out of everything I've questioned, there's not one time I've really questioned the defense as being poor. It has been lackluster at times. We've seen some dribble penetration into the paint in preseason that I was discussing. That does end up being the case. Interior defense isn't the best, but perimeter defense sometimes can limit the weaknesses of the interior defense as well. If you're stopping people at the 3-point line, it might be more difficult for them to come into the paint as well. It does go both ways, and I feel like our defense has been strong so far. But again, rebounding wise, there is an issue to be, I guess, discussed with. Now, I don't want this video to go too long. It's already 11 minutes according to my time, so I don't necessarily want to extend this video any further than it needs to be. And I know there's a lot that I forgot or lots that I haven't mentioned. So if you guys want me to make a part 2 of this video, I definitely will. If not, we'll be talking about more topics and more discussions of our players later on. But do indeed let me know in the comments below all of your thoughts about these situations. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.